we sitting there talking about these questions, Jason, and an incident in my career. We have so many things that go through our career, just so many stories, and we could just sit here and remind each other of those stories, right? And my game changing incident in my career was June 2nd of 2016. We got dispatched to a barricaded suicidal woman. Her name was Heidi Till. And I thought, because we've had barricaded suicidals before, it basically is the same protocol. Policy says the same. Get there, surround the house, call out, stage the ambulance. They walk out. Oh, we walk them out, put them on a stretcher, off they go. Short little report, done. Perfect world. Always cleans up, nice and tidy at the end, right? This call, hey, she's not coming out. Not my normal shift that I would work with. So I know the guys, but I don't know them. If I would have had the SWAT guys there, right, we would be bouncing ideas off of each other because, hey, let's do this first or let's do that first. They don't have that same training. So, and I know I got everybody coming. And I know I got everybody coming as soon as one of the officers in back says she's on the back porch with a firearm in her hand. Well, that went out across the radio band. So I know when that went out, everybody was coming. Surrounding departments were coming, chief was coming, deputy chiefs were coming, detectives were coming, everybody's rolling. So hold the radio frequency, emergency traffic only. Let's figure out what we got going here. Let's lock down this perimeter. Get on the back porch. Dan, stay there. I'll move to the back. Stand by, keep talking to her. I go to the back, kind of see this woman. She's up at an elevated position on a porch, and she's kind of like on a little bit of a hill. So her yard is kind of like a hill going down. There's a 6-foot wooden privacy fence around. She's up kind of in the middle of that yard. Dan's kind of bunkered down behind this huge oak tree, really, really big tree. Great spot for cover. Really, really good tree. Just the way it's angled, you can just get a good view around the tree and over that fence to be able to see her. And we kind of set up back there. My role on this call was a sergeant. I was a supervisor. And as a supervisor's roles, I need to have big eyes on the whole call. I didn't. I zoomed right on what the threat was. And I think because of our SWAT training, as great as it was, I put myself as that entry guy, the first guy to make the decision. You got to go now, got to push through. And I just kind of assumed that role of being the point guy. And I'm not going to tell you I lost positions of everybody, because I could kind of feel where everybody was at around this perimeter. People calling on the radio, you could hear their stuff coming in. I can hear resources coming in. I can hear streets being locked down. And in this call, we've got her on this back step, and I open up the line of communication with her, and she's talking to me, and we're talking really well. We got some good language going back and forth about her brother being in the Navy, and I give him a call on the phone. She's not under arrest. She just needs to put the gun down. We got an ambulance for her, and things are going good. And then she takes that gun, and it goes from pointing at us to pointing to her head, to in her mouth, to under her chin, and it's constantly going back and forth. And even though she was pointing at us, both me and my partner, neither of us were ready to pull the trigger, because I think we were pretty confident that this tree was solid and we're in a good spot. So if she gets the first round off, we'll have the second rounds. So we're just trusting the fact that she's not serious with this gun. It sounds messed up, talking to another cop. What would you think that? That was a good shoot no matter what happened. And I go back and think about, man, it's all good. It's you prepare yourself, but to actually be in the moment where, and I might just take this woman's life today, and that's going to change her life. It's going to change her family's life. It's going to change my life, right? So, man, do I wait till the last second to have to do this? So she takes that gun and she points it out to the south direction, and she fires it, and the round goes off, and it was loud. It cracked that loud round, and I remember, and I carried a Springfield 45, so safety was off, and I remember the safety going off, and my finger on the trigger. And as fast as it was on the trigger, I was like, man, don't shoot. And I pulled my finger back out. I'm like, Heidi, don't worry about it. You didn't mean to do that. And I could tell, because her reflex to that shot being fired, it spooked her. She didn't mean to pull that. I don't think she meant to pull that trigger. Next thing, she's good. She's back talking to us again for a while. And it's here, then it's guns down, guns here, playing around a bit, got the gun down. So Dan, I go, guns down, cover me. I'm going to go around to the fence. I'm going to pull her out to me. A couple of guys set up on the side. Scott was one, Teeter was one, to be able to ambush her as we pull her through the fence line. So I'm trying to get that all set up. As I'm over there, she starts yelling again. She takes the gun, she fires a second round right over my head at this apartment building. And why I didn't shoot her then, I don't know, but I didn't. I was behind a 4x4 post. I tried to be skinny. It wasn't the best cover, but I tried to get skinny behind this 4x4 post. And I'm like, she didn't mean to do that either. Gun down, gun out. I mean, that one, there wasn't that jump, but she fired that gun right over my head. And then the gun went down. And then her kind of a little bit of calmness came to her. And I'm like, I got this, man. Just keep throwing BS her way. I got her coming to me. And she set the gun down and she walked down some steps. She started walking towards me. I kept telling her, come on, Heidi, keep coming to me. And all she put those brakes on. And I know in law enforcement, we always hear that 1,000-yard stare. I know exactly what that looks like. And she did that 1,000-yard stare straight through me. And I'm not kidding, the smile on her face was like a Joker smile. And I had that back of my neck feeling, I'm like, this isn't good. And I wanted to break cover and go grab her. And I kind of was like, no, we got a plan. Plan is to bring her back. Well, as fast as I'm kind of going in, she turns around and she walks right back up those stairs. As fast as she gets up those stairs, I'm backing up. She pulls the gun right at me, fires around, it comes out at my feet. And I'll tell you that I didn't hear her gun go off. I saw the flash. I saw the muzzle flash. But the next thing I hear, and it sounds crazy, but you talk about how everything kind of amplifies. I can hear a 223 round going through the air. It's just whizzing through the air. And detective took a round, hit her right in the face, spun her. And when it spun her, I ended up hitting her in her neck and her upper side and down on her side. And I put 2 under the wood frame behind her. And she drops. And we saved her life. I mean, we filled some holes. We stuffed some holes. The medics were staged. Multiple surgeries, and she's, as far as I know, she's doing good today. I'll be honest, and some guys will ask me why, but I had reached out to her attorney multiple times. Probably the last time I reached out to him was in 2000, maybe 2002, it was before COVID. So probably just before COVID, I reached out. And I really wanted to do a sit-down talk with her. Like, I didn't care if it was at the PD, if it was at the hospital, if it was... I'll get to that in a second, but she's not saying no, but she's not ready to talk to you. 2016, she was charged with attempted murder of me multiple times in 2012. 2016 was the trial. She was found not guilty by reason of insanity. And then the time of that not guilty, a week after that, I retired from the PD. But that time of those 4 years of that happening to the time of retirement, we can get to some more questions, more into details, but that was the game changer for me. For one call in my entire career, that was the one. So again, I'm going to say this sitting here, and again, I know this video is going to go out, so let me preface this by saying our department did not have these calls. This wasn't like the city of Chicago or Chattanooga where these shootings are happening all the time, right? So we didn't have practice with this. As much as I would love to say our department was ready for this call, we weren't ready, and I was the backside of that, not ready. So what do I mean by that? As soon as this shooting happened, everybody was on scene. And I remember my chief coming up to me, and he starts grilling me with all these questions. Well, you know the questions you can ask me, and it's not every question's out there. And he started asking me some questions that shouldn't have been asked. And Scott, a guy on SWAT with us, still talk to him today, and just a great, great guy. He comes up to me, and I won't going to get teary-eyed in a minute. He comes up to me, I'm not kidding you, Jason, he grabbed my outer vest carrier, because I like the outer vest carrier, as we learned earlier. He grabbed that outer vest carrier with Tito's got massive hands, and he grabbed my outer vest carrier, and he said, stop answering those questions. Chief, you can't ask him those. Go sit in my car, Jim. And he sent me to his car, and he exchanged some words with the chief there, and I don't know what happened there. But it was like, there's an example of when we say we got somebody, in situations you don't realize, and I don't think I was going to say anything wrong or anything that would have incriminated me in any matter, because I'm not going to say it's a black and white case, but it was what it was. But he didn't know the whole story, and he knew what should not have been done. And my mind wasn't thinking that. My mind was thinking right at that moment, like, what just happened, right? And Scott just kind of shook me. So again, we didn't do it right there, right? What happens next? Well, we've got to send him to the hospital. Who's going to the hospital? Well, me and the detective that took that rifle round. Okay, well, what are we doing at the hospital? So who's transporting us? How do we get transported? Squad cars, okay, do we sit in the back seat like we're in custody? Do we sit in the front seat? Simple things like that. We get transported to the hospital, the opposite hospital that the suspect went to, which was a good call. But we get there like, why are you here? I was involved in a shooting. Where are you shot at? I'm not shot. Why are you here? Well, we were told that, well, and they had no idea why we were there. Like, there was no protocol put in place for a mental check of these guys to be cleared to go. And I'm sitting there like, this is ridiculous. And one of the chiefs from the local towns, he showed up, he was involved in a shooting not too far before that. He's like, we'll take care of this, don't worry. Just, you're good, just take a deep breath. And I started talking about this drug test stuff. And I'm like, I got no problem doing a drug test. But my partner that also fired the round, I'm like, is he okay to do a drug test? Because we can't have this go, I do one and you don't do one, or vice versa. We either got to be in or out. And I'm like, I don't want to be that guy, but I don't remember who was there. And this was probably against all policy, all out there. But again, lessons learned because we weren't there before. I said, hey, you need to go down to that other room and ask him, is he willing to do a drug test? And the officer I asked to go down there, went down there, asked him. He came back and said, he's good. I'm like, that's all I need to know. So we're both on the same page. And it all worked out. It was fine. So we do the drug test. Okay, finish that up. Get transported back to the PD. This is the stuff that, man, just gets me mad that it happened this way. Because this was part of the, I guess the processing part of this is we sat in the office with the chief, everybody that was on scene that day, and pretty much told me on admin leave until further notice, got to be available for the ISP to come and do the investigation. All good, good, good. Jim and Jeff, you guys are good to go. So we get up and we're like, and then he's like, you guys all stay. He told everybody to stay but me and Jeff. Like, well, why are they staying? And don't we get to hear what's going on here? And we left, and the home part came next. But what happened in that meeting right there was that we left, and I'd say up to the investigation, I never got one phone call from one guy in my department, not one person calling me saying, you doing okay? I got calls from the SWAT guys because the word got out. I got plenty of calls from SWAT guys, but not one person from my PD called to check on me or Jeff, not one person. We're prior to the ISP investigation. Jeff hits me up. Hey, you doing okay? Dude, nobody's called. Nobody's called. Hey, we got to go out for a ride. He goes, well, I live in town. You don't. Let's go meet. So we went and met. Is it wrong? Yeah, it was wrong. It was wrong, but it is what it is. Not that anything changed any stories. We were both trying to figure out how to deal with what we just went through. And later to find out that why we didn't get no phone calls is because the chief put an email out saying Jim and Jeff were involved in the shooting. They're currently under investigation. There are to be no contact with them until the investigation is complete, period. So everybody felt that if they even reached out to say hi, they reached out, therefore they're violating the chief's order, they're going to be disciplined for it. And that's what was going on at that time. A lot of piddly little stuff where these guys are taking it to the end mean, and it wasn't clearly communicated to what you could or couldn't do because we've never been there before. And you got two guys that were just kind of like, nobody's checking on us? Are we good or are we not good? So again, go and discuss everything. A lot of tears on a bike, just a lot of things. And again, I don't know where I would fill this stuff in with you, but it's kind of part of the testimony to go along with stuff, but I'll just see if I can fill it in at some point. The next bad part of this investigation, again, we haven't been there. There's two more stories of this to kind of go on to this, which were just, man, just wrong. And again, I hope they've fixed it up there. When I left, it still wasn't fixed, so I hope it's fixed. We sit down for, I hire an attorney. I got an attorney on call, so she shows up for me. And she's an awesome attorney in Northern Illinois. And she's like, hey, this is clear cut. I go, this is going to be a sit down. They're going to tell you to tell the story, and we're done and out of there. I go, you got nothing to worry about. I'm like, cool. So sit down. It's me, my attorney. There were so many people, and I don't know why all these people in there. The deputy chief, the chief, village official, two ISP investigators, a stenographer writing everything down. There was somebody else over there. I don't know who it was, but there were tons of people in this room. I don't know why they all needed to be there. Introductions go around in typical detective fashion. Sergeant Schlicher, before we ask you any questions, we need to advise you of your Miranda rights. And out from underneath the folder come the Miranda rights. And I'm sitting there going, when did I become in custody? And my attorney takes those Miranda rights and she spins them back around and she slides back. He's not in custody. And then the ISP investigators, this is policy. We need to do this and slide it back. And she goes, we're not doing this. He's not in custody. Pushes it back. And then I almost started getting into an argument. And then attorney says, we need to get outside and go talk. So she looks at me, she goes, Jim, stay here. We'll be right back. I'm not kidding you. It was man, I remember the time. It's this toughest pass now. I want to say it was 13 minutes and 13 minutes and 37 seconds. They were gone out of the room. And my butt crack was sweating. I'm like, what are they talking about? When did custody come into play in this? They come back in, everybody sits back down, and they said, just tell us what happened. So Miranda disappeared. And I told them exactly what happened. And the one thing that they brought up was, do you remember what you said after you fired your round? Do you remember what you said? You told her to stay on the ground, and you said a couple things. Do you remember what you said? I go, I don't remember. Did you cuss? And they were dropping those F-bombs that I mentioned earlier. And she goes, how many times did you say that? I'm like, the witness is saying you said it 5 times. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, I don't know why that came up in the interview, but that was another part that shouldn't have happened that way. And if we were prepared for that, it would have been less sweat running on my butt crack. And 13:37 minutes, the attorney, it would have been over with, right? So better communication to walk through what that looks like on the back end. The next part that really sucked, Jim, prior to going back to duty, we need to get you fit for duty. You need to go see a psych. Okay, well, me and psychs at this point, I was having some stuff going on at home also. Just frustrating stuff for me, and maybe we'll get to that, maybe we won't. And go see this psych. I don't know the guy's name, and it's probably a good thing. It was up north, and it was an office, probably about 10 by 10 office. And I got to go in the office. It was a typical office where there was a desk, and this guy had, I'm being typical cop humor here, right? So a desk with all these, I will tell you, certificates all over the wall that I think pretty much spelled out, I failed medical school, so I fell back on psychology degree. So all over the wall. And it had a lamp that had a green shade that illuminated this room, kind of like a green color. And it had one of those leather couches, like the 2-seat leather couches, like you don't know what actually ever happened on that couch sitting there. And he asked me if I wanted to sit down and tell him what happened. And I said, I don't really need to sit there, but what do you want to know? He's like, well, you need to tell me what happens. If you want me to make you fit for duty, you got to tell me the story. And this guy was a Santa Claus beard, white shirt, like the shirts that wrinkle if you don't iron them. Pocket here, two pens in his pocket, coffee stains, and like the typical, like, I need to buy the 2XL shirt because the buttons are just spread apart. That's kind of what it looked like. And I'm like, no, I don't want to tell this guy nothing, man. And he's like, well, if you want to be fit for duty, you got to tell me. I'm like, oh, I was involved in a shooting, June 2nd, 2012, involved in the shooting. This is what happened. She shot at me. We put rounds back on target. We saved her life. I'm good. I'm good to go back to work. Okay, you're good? I'm good. Have a good day. Who knows what the village got paid for that? There should have been a lot more stuff done there by somebody that knew what they were doing to be able to pull this stuff out of me. And again, I have to want to talk, right? But so maybe I was shut down. Maybe he already saw that. I don't know. But I don't think that's a good way to clear a guy fit for duty to go back if he's still dealing with stuff, because the aftermath of that is, where I'm at today as a result of all that.